Greetings, it is I, Dreadscape Gaming. How are all you doing today, Dread Knights, on this Monday? April 13th, 2026. We are going to be playing Monster Hunter Wilds today. I originally was going to play Worlds, but I decided I'd rather play the newer Monster Hunter game as opposed to the older one, just because there's more content that I can do in this particular game, as opposed to the old one, where I would just be, like, farming Fatalis and, like, stuff that I've farmed a bazillion times at this point. I am probably going to yap a lot today, because I have a lot of stuff on my mind. I kind of want to get, like, off my chest while we're doing the middle hunts. Lobby is open. Anybody is welcome to join. I'm going to be doing Gunlance and Lance builds today. So, first build up is going to be the Gunlance, right? And it is basically a full set of the Archvold Y, or armor, so which is basically the Archtemper Archvold. I have actually ascended one piece of the gear, but it's kind of hard to because you need like 3 tickets to ascend everything. It gives you a little bit of extra defense though, which is kind of always nice to have in general. So that's the build that we're going to be rocking with. It has offensive guard level 3, artillery level 3, guard level 3, guard up level 3, weakness exploit level 5, heroics level 5, player level 5, agitator level 3, convert element level 3, blight resistance free, stun resistance free, elemental absorption, not going to really matter too much, level 3, windproof level 3 because it comes on the talisman that I have on here, and shock absorber level 1 because it's a windproof / guard up level 3 talisman, so that's like one of the best ones that we can particularly rock in the situation. I am going to be using Para Gunlance as well as Blast Gunlance. Para Gunlance is kind of really fun because this one that I have in particular is a normal Gunlance, so it gives me the ability to play Slap Lance, where you're doing more of the physical attacks as opposed to some of the air stuff. I will show off the Lance build when we switch to it. I'm probably going to play like an hour of Gunlance, and then I'll switch to an hour of regular Lance, depending on the hunts, obviously. We are going to go. I'm going to be doing SOS investigations for people who don't know. Yeah, I got like a lot of stuff on my mind. I'm trying to figure out where we really should start with. So, you know, Dread's not always on the internet. Dread does touch concrete and stuff from time to time. Stuff that Dread was doing this weekend, which is why you didn't see Dread mostly doing streams, although I popped into 1 or 2 things. So today when I woke up, particularly in the morning, I had like a lot of work that I had to kind of get done for the channel, as well as stuff for the 6th anniversary, right? So I decided, okay, I'm gonna go on Against Better Judgment Twitter, right? Or as it's called now, X, because I have to, like, you know, obviously with X, look up a whole bunch of things. So I went on X, and I made the American post that I have to make, you know, of, hey, good morning, I'm here working on back-end stuff. I will, you know, be streaming later on. I'm very tired because I didn't really sleep too well last night. I got sleep, like, in the sense that I got a decent amount of hours, but when I woke up, I just felt exhausted. And it's a different type of exhaustion than physical exhaustion, I suppose you could say. It's more of a, like, a mental exhaustion and an emotional exhaustion at this point. Because I've been having, like, there's a lot of stuff going on, right? There's the J branch stuff that's going on. There's the personal stuff that's been going on for a long time. Very, very, very long time already. That's kind of, like, been unresolved. And, you know, when you mix that stuff in with the fact that, like, I'm going to make, like, the post of Good Morning and stuff, and I see, you know, the usual, like, doom scrolling that's been going on VTuber interwebs for the last couple days based on various different topics. If you know at this point, you already know. You know, so I'm trying to avoid a lot of that doom scrolling and, you know, the negativity and stuff. And that's unfortunately part of, like, American X/Twitter, particularly, like, with Western VTubing. I feel like there's always some type of, like, controversy or stuff, and there's always people just kind of being, like, toxic and stuff. So, you know, I'm seeing posts and stuff, and I'm just, like, trying to ignore it. And I'm like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna have to take a morning run for coffee and just handle things in the background. So, like, I popped into 1 or 2 places, and then it's like, you know, just to check up on stream, see how everything's going on. And you just kind of get, like, the same kind of sense of, I don't want to call it negativity, but that's the only way to put it, right? Like, there's just a bunch of negative stuff going on. And I got to the point where Hunter went Turtle Dance here. I decided to do level 9 because there's, like, talismans that we can do here. Okay, the Iron Guard shall prevail, Dread Knights. Let me wait on this. Don't run away from me. I'm just slow moving weapon, but I can guard quite a bit. Oh, we need to flash bomb here. Block. Okay. Let's do this. Let's see if I can get an attack off here. Hello? Please? Please, God. Please, guy. Please, somebody flash bomb. Or not flash bomb. Somebody please dung bomb here. Okay, thank you. Okay. Let me reset this, because I didn't really have a good time to reset for the moment. Block. Block again. Let me heal up here, because I am in a bit of a pickle, you could say. So yeah, so I was reading some of that stuff, you know, and I popped into place, and it's sort of like the same type of negativity that's been going on. And I feel like the negativity has been getting a little bit worse. Just because, like, there's just so much going on. And so I decided, you know, I was just going to kind of take a break for the day. And kind of, like, distance myself a bit from what was going on. Which I did successfully for the most part. Then I went to Japanese, where it was kind of a little bit less of that. Because I always say, like, when it comes to Twitter, the best place, or X as it's called now, best place to be is on Japanese Twitter. American Twitter sucks. Just because there's just so much of the usual doom posting and doom scrolling and everything of that nature. So I decided to go on Japanese Twitter, which, you know, improved my mood a little bit, because it was like, there's so many nice people there, and I've been meeting so many nice people in regards to, like, stuff that I'm doing with, you know, my own activities and with the JP branch of Dreadscape Gaming. So, you know, there was that. I should not look away from the screen in the middle of a hunt, so I'm not going to do that anymore, Dread Knights. So, you know, there was that stuff going on, and, you know, so I decided to kind of, like, scale back a little bit from things, too. I'm also one of those type of guys that can kind of pick up on certain things, so I kind of pick up on when people are being, like, I don't know what's the word I would use. Condescending? No, I don't think really condescending would be the word. But, you know, I guess low-key, I don't think passive-aggressive is it, either. But I guess low-key condescending, you know, in a way. And, you know, everybody's got their rights to feel a certain way. I understand that. But one of the things that kind of a bit annoyed me, and I guess I'm just going to kind of say this, is I feel like something recently of mine that I said on American Twitter got taken out of context, because I said a tweet that, you know, I kind of feel for a lot of our content creators in the sense that, you know, I myself experience points of feeling a bit fatigued. You know, you know, I'm obviously stressed about certain things that are going on, and there's, you know, other things like, you know, I deal with, as I put it, the loneliness. And I think people mistook what I meant by loneliness. I meant loneliness in the sense of, like, when I do content, obviously I'm not really collabing with people a lot of the time. I'm just kind of making content myself, and I kind of stick to my own lane, bubble, I guess, whatever you want to call it, which I kind of like to do for the most part. I've said this before, there's a bit of peace in solitude, and the fact that on top of that, because I don't really, you know, do like a whole bunch of VTuber collabs and stuff, I have a sense of where I don't get involved in a lot of, like, the drama that goes around. And, you know, when's the only time you could say that Dread has ever been involved in a controversy? Never. So that's basically what I meant, but it does get a little bit lonely, because every once in a while, maybe you want to work with people, and I don't, because of, you know, all our stuff that goes on. So I think my words basically got taken out of context, to the point I felt like there were some people who decided to make it, like, some type of weird joke, I guess? Like, trying to joke on me, or whatever it was. And, you know, I'm the type of guy that, I'll be honest with you, when it comes to that stuff, it's like, whatever. Because, you know, there's people who are very mature about things, and then there's people who lack, like, a sense of emotional maturity. And usually if people are the type of people that don't, like, have any sort of emotional maturity whatsoever, those are people usually Dread doesn't really hang around with, or will, you know, interact with, because that's just kind of how I feel. You know, that's just kind of how it is with me. I mean, I don't want to say VTubing is serious business, but I like conduct myself in a certain manner, and usually if there's, like, people who don't conduct themselves in a similar manner, I usually don't interact with them. So I'm the type of guy that, you know, when I feel negatively about, or I get a bad first, second, sometimes third impression, because it takes a while for me to warm up to people, it can, like, affect stuff. So, like, my particular thing when I said that on Twitter about, like, sometimes being lonely just meant, like, in the creator's sense of things. As to, like, sometimes I like to work with other people, but then there's some people who are just not my cup of tea, I guess. You know? Just not my vibe. Which is a little bit different. You know? So my words got taken, like, ridiculously out of context there. Which I didn't really kind of appreciate, but, you know, it's whatever. You know? I kind of, like, move on from that. And I grow. Like, as an individual. But, you know, there is that. Block. Block. Good amount of hunts going on here. Wait. So, yeah, you know, there was that. So, I wanted to clarify on stream what I meant by, like, being lonely, because I think somebody thought I was being, like, lonely in the sense of, like, a romantic sense, which is not the case. Great, these people didn't want to continue to hunt here. Okay, that's fine. I can take care of this by myself anyway. Always annoying when people do that. You know, but it happens. Sometimes people don't want, like, the deal with Gunlance users. Whatever. On top of that, like, some of the people who were hunting with their weapon wasn't necessarily great. Are you guys still with me? Yes, no, maybe so. Fuck. Okay, I can't really check to see. I'm gonna assume, hopefully, you're still with me. Alright, let's wait on that. Well, I'm sorry, I can't look at the screen to check right now. That's what I meant. I didn't mean that it was lonely in a romantic sense. Why would I be, like, realistically speaking, I don't really like to talk about, like, romance and stuff on here, but Dread, you know, when it comes to romance, Dread's, like, not involved with anybody right now, but on top of that, like, I'm kind of just doing my own thing. Like, I don't really think about that type of stuff, and even if I was feeling a certain way in terms of, like, romantic sense, I wouldn't talk about it necessarily on the internet for a whole bunch of people to see. Or to read. That would just be kind of foolish on my end. If I were going to do that, I'd do it on my IRL account. I wouldn't do it on my VTuber account. Because I've learned from various different situations. Not to really get, like, too personal when it comes to, like, my VTubing thing. Which is why I always, like, tend to be a little bit vague with stuff. But that's basically what I meant by that tweet. So it's kind of a little bit confusing when you see it, like, being made, I guess, like, as a joke. I don't even know what to take it, because it's kind of weird. So I clarified my stance in regards to that. Like, you know, I meant, like, from a work capacity. And, you know, that's going to change off the 6th anniversary. I've mentioned this before. I'm collaborating with, like, Japanese VTubers. As well as a couple other people I can't really talk about. Because I don't want to announce something that's not official yet. You know, so it's a little, you know, thing. I was just saying it for other content creators, because I know that there's a lot of content creators I know that are always talking about how they feel, I don't know. I don't want to say isolated, because isolate's not the word to use. They feel, you know, a certain way about things. Okay, let's drop this lance. Block. Okay, I need to get this wound. This is a 9-star one, too. That's the worst part. So it's got, like, more HP. That's probably why they quit. I don't want to, like, give up the hunt despite it. But this put us in a precarious situation, because I have to sharpen my weapon. And I'm dealing with a very tight area to do this with. Okay, let's sharpen the weapon here. So, I don't know. You know. Kind of funny how sometimes, like, something you say on the internet, or even, like, as simple as a tweet, will sometimes get taken out of context. Which happens, I feel like that's been happening a lot more lately. Which is always kind of weird, because it's like, you know, I just do my own thing. That's how I always kind of like to roll, just do my own thing, you know? And, like, there's somebody, like, a mentor of mine, in a way, said it, I think, best, like, you know, whenever you're feeling a certain way about things, you just remind yourself that you're doing the best job that you can possibly do, and you're doing the best effort that you possibly can do. And if people don't like what you do in terms of school, work, or anything else of that nature, fuck them. I think a lot of people will know who I'm referring to in retrospect to that, but that's pretty much words to live by. You know, if somebody doesn't like something you do, you just kind of You know, I don't get heartbroken over it. I don't know, heartbroken's not the word. I don't get upset over it, right? Because I don't have, like, that type of time to really waste in terms of stuff of that nature. You know, like I've always said here, I've said it a million times when it comes to me. I'm one of those type of people where I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I know that. You know, I'm a sweaty gamer. People who know me very well know that I did a lot of esports, played video games professionally. I've done speedruns professionally. There's something that still has to be verified of mine that would basically put me at, like, the top echelon in terms of, like, video game accomplishments, but it still has to be verified. So that's why I haven't talked about that too much as of yet. You know, I've played card games professionally for so many different years. This is not a flex. This is who I am. I kind of get upset a bit when people think that when I say something like that, that's a flex or to be arrogant or stuff. That's not arrogant. That's just me having done stuff in my life, and I want to just, you know, point it out to people who maybe don't know that might find it interesting. No different than when somebody, like, releases a song or, you know, is a musician or, you know, a voice actor or something of that nature and, you know, is proud of their accomplishments. I am proud of the accomplishments that I've done, you know? So that's basically, you know, I feel. And I felt like lately, like, when it comes to certain things, and this is something that's kind of been on my mind and it's been part of me, I feel like people are not letting me be who I want to be. And I feel like if you're somebody that's actually a friend of mine, if you're somebody that cares about me, if you're somebody that's, you know, important person or tries to be an important person in my life, you would honestly, you know, respect me and not try to, like, change who I am as an individual or a person. You know, it's one of those things where you either have to love me for who I am or you don't. Which is going to be a segue to something, ironically, that I want to also talk about. So I have talked about this a little bit before. I had reconnected with a person who was a good, a person that I had, like, an interesting past with 3 years ago. This is what I'm talking about. Maybe 4 years, actually. 4 years ago, because if I say 4 years ago, somebody's going to mistake it for something else. I'm going to capture it because I get more rewards here. Do I have a trap? I do have a pitfall. I think I could use a pitfall here. This is a level 9. So I don't want to take the risk that then... I don't remember how... Like, I jumped into somebody else's hunt and then they left. So I don't know if there's, like, carts left. Okay. Good job. So I'd rather take the safe route there as opposed to missing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this. Yeah, so, about last August, I reconnected with somebody. Actually, it was a little before August. It was, like, July. Glowing stones, okay. Alright, good. Let's see what we got here. Evade Extender 1, 1, 1, that's no good. Bludgeon 2, 2, 2, that's no good. Maximum Might 2, Charge Master, eh. Blind Resistance 3, I already got one of these, which is kind of annoying. Critical Resistance, Dragon Resistance, none of those were particularly good. So we jumped into that hunt for no reason there, Dread Knights, but, you know. It is what it is, I guess you could say. Yeah, so, like, I reconnected with somebody around, like, June of last year, and this was a person who had kind of basically abandoned me, and there was, like, definitely some feelings there on both things, and we had reconnected for a while and things were going moderately well, I suppose. However, I was still had feelings for somebody else, and this person kind of knew that I had feelings for somebody else that hadn't, like, ever died down or dissipated. So, you know, we were basically in a very close friendship and stuff, but I could kind of tell, like, the person had started kind of, like, I don't know, what's the nice way to put it, kind of, like, was kind of developing feelings, but I had feelings for somebody else that I had been interacting with and friends with for a very long time. Like, when there was nobody around, when I was doing a lot of VTubing the last, like, 3 years, they were there and very supportive. So what ended up happening was, around December, for the holidays, they kind of, like, soft ghosted me. Which kind of really sucked, to be honest with you, because it's, like, the holiday season, and I've mentioned this before. A lot of my friends live on the West Coast, they all moved to the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast, not for much longer, but on the East Coast. Um, so like that was a really rough time for me for the holidays because there was nobody really around, and this person had been around for a while. But I kind of already kind of felt like because they knew how I was already like I it was like only really a friendship, and there was never going to be anything else. I guess romantically, I guess you could say, between us. Like they started to feel, I don't know, resentment or something. So what ended up happening was they like, and it's within the right. They decide to like soft ghost and stuff. So me, who is a regular individual that tries to be a very mature adult, always likes to like talk about things. So I went to like talk to the person in December, and I was kind of honest. I was like, hey, I feel like you have kind of like been not really interested or engaged in talking anymore, which I understand. So I was like, if you don't really want to talk anymore. I totally get it because that's what mature adults do, and I it's fine. Just tell me, and we're always be cool. So I this was right before Christmas, mind you, um, and it was one of those things where they're like, I don't want to really talk anymore and stuff. I was like, okay, it's perfectly fine. I respect that, like any other individual. And again, like I said, I had feelings for somebody else for a very very long time. And like I wasn't gonna try to like kid myself that I could like replace somebody that I wasn't like wanted to replace in my life necessarily. So we went our separate ways in December and stuff. And it was kind of like a sad moment in a way because like afterwards I thought like the person was fine with it, and it turns out that the person wasn't fine with it, and they were like really upset. And then they started like bad mouthing me, I guess, a little bit on the internet, which is fine. It's alright. You know what? Like, it's somebody of the opposite sex. If you feel like jaded and stuff, like I can't get mad at that, you know. But I was a little bit hurt by it because this was like somebody. And I mentioned this like this is like 4 years ago when this happened. Not the Christmas incident was to this thing, but we started talking like 4 years ago, or a long time ago. But they kind of like up and abandoned me, and I actually told the story because it's something. The reason why I hate to use this analogy, but I always use that analogy of like me being on a mountaintop. I know, which I think got like made fun of today in particular too, which kind of, it's whatever, I suppose. But let me block here. But it was like one of the situations where I don't really like open up or trust too many people in terms of that like stuff, because like I remember that when this is a person like I really trust and stuff, and we killed it. Okay, GG's. We did the boom booms. It knocked me back, but I got the spike on that, so that kind of worked off. Yeah, but so it was one of those situations where this person was like really close to me, and then they just kind of things didn't work out the first time around, and we went our separate ways, but they were like really mean about it. And I just kind of lived my life after that, and I kind of felt abandoned by that. It's just kind of what it is, because it was like somebody that was like a trusted person, like one of the very first Dread Knights ever on the channel too. Keep that in mind, So like I was helping them up and coming, like in terms of like content creation spear, and then I kind of felt like I don't know, betrayed in a way a lot, and I kind of always carried that resentment with me. Because it's like, there's a person that decided to seek me out. It wasn't their way around. And then I guess because I didn't have, like, feelings for them, I guess is the best way to put it. At that, junction and stuff, that they got, like, really jaded over, and then it became a thing. So they decided, basically, to make a long story short, come back around June, because they saw that I was not emotionally invested, that's the wrong word, that I was, very, very happy and stuff. With stuff going on, life-wise, and I guess they don't want to see me interacting with another woman. It's weird like that. That's, I guess, what people do sometimes. I don't understand. I'm a guy, what guys do, I guess, is a little bit different. I would like to think than that. Yeah, so it didn't, work out, but it kind of always stayed with, like, that type of resentment, which is why I don't really get close to people anymore, even though, sometimes you can't help things. Sometimes you're like cool with people, things of that nature. But the reason why I was bringing it up is because there's just like so many things. Like I said, my words got taken out of context on Twitter, you know. So it's like, I guess the best way to put it into words is that like lately, you know, I think back to that incident because that's when I really stopped trusting people in the VTuber sphere. And that's why, you know, realistically, I don't like it's taken a long time. Like it took me all the way to like 6 years of VTubing to then start opening up to want to do like collaborations and stuff because of such a negative experience that I had with this person because it like hurt in a different type of way. Um you know, so it's like now I've just gotten a little bit better with things. It's taken a lot of time to kind of like open up to people, but like I don't know how to put this into words. I said I was gonna yap a lot today, so I apologize for this, but it's stuff that I just kind of like felt a need to get off my chest. So like, you know, like I find it still very difficult to like open up and be friendly with our like VTubers and or things of that people in the scene because it's like I don't know, you know, I'm the type of person that I'm willing to support just about anybody and stuff. But you can kind of feel like there's a big difference, right? Like I'm a indie, so a lot of people that I interact with these days are just like fellow indie VTubers. So, you know, I've mentioned this before, I started VTubing around 2019. So a lot of the people I know or familiar with that I'm comfortable with are from that particular time period. You know, there are people who, you know, did some pretty cool things and then they went on to come back and now they're doing cool things too there. So I feel comfortable with those people because they've kind of have had the same experiences that I've had. You know, where, you know, I don't want to say thus against the world, but it's kind of one of those things where, like, you know, if you're an indie, you know how it goes. You know how stuff happens, you know, the grind, you know, the sad things of how, you know, people kind of treat a lot of stuff like business decisions as opposed to, like, really friendships and stuff. And, you know, a lot of us from that time period are a little bit more battle-tested, hardened, reserved, but we understand each other better. You know, there's like one particular individual that I think really helped kind of like save me in terms of VTubing. Because like in August, I was pretty much out. And I started kind of like frequenting, as the running joke, redacted indie. Just because like I was familiar with a lot of people from that space before they were redacted to begin with. So there was one person that was trying to, you know, in general, just push the theme of like VTubing can be fun again. And it took a while for me to kind of understand that, and I finally got back into the groove of things. But like, I don't know, last like 2 weeks, uh-oh, I thought I died there, but that was really good blocking. But I felt like for the last like couple of days, like I'm trying to stay very positive about like VTubing stuff, but as I continue to get like exposed to other things going on and trying to like be supportive of stuff that's going on, because I don't want to be one of those people that like I like to try to help everybody, I guess, is this thing. But I feel like after certain things that went on, I'm feeling, I don't know, less willing to, because I'm just seeing the same things that all my peers have always kind of, for the last like 6 months, have been warning me about. You know, and I hate when like people tell me things. I'm like, maybe they were just embellishing a little bit, or they were implying something. And I was like, yeah, it's probably just embellishment. It's not really like that. And then you start seeing things, and it's like, oh, maybe this wasn't embellishment whatsoever, and the stuff that was being told and conveyed was actually true. And it makes me feel sad because it's just like I'm such an optimist when it comes to like VTubing. Because I want to be that optimistic guy that, like, believes that, like, everybody can get along and believes that, you know, not everybody's mean behind the scenes and that everybody is, like, just super cool, you know, and that everybody's, like, really, really passionate and they do things for the right reasons. And it's hard, like, lately because I'm just seeing things that make me so, not dissuaded, but it's just, like, you know, I made a lot of decisions and sometimes I regret the decisions I made, but then I look back and I'm feeling like, well, maybe I was actually right. for, like, sticking to my guns, right? It's, like, kind of crazy. It's hard to really put into words, but I'm just, like, I don't know. It's really hard to put into words. And then there's, like, something else that's been going on. I can't really, like, talk about, too, where it's just, like, this is one person that, like, the dynamic is always so weird between us. Because it's, like, at times it's, like, they seem cool with me, at other times they seem angry at me. A lot of times I'm trying to figure out why exactly they're angry at me, because I really don't know. At other times it just feels like no matter what I do, I can't win. And I don't mean, like, win in a mean way, you know? But it's gotten to the point where sometimes I just feel like, good job, let's give a good job here. How do I do a good job again? Okay. Oh no. They're probably like, this toxic person, good work. You know? So I've been thinking, you know, a lot of that stuff, like, and then I have, like, something else that's been going on where I have, like, this situation, I guess is the best way to put it, where there's this person that was kind of upset about stuff. And I understand why they're upset about stuff. And I've been trying to, like, get them to kind of see things from my perspective. But it's been pretty difficult. And I've had to been, like, pretty understanding about situations, too. But I'm trying to, like, hopefully convey to them that sometimes I feel like they need to be a little bit more understanding as well. And, like, lately, I don't know, it's one of those situations where one week I feel like somebody's okay with me. And then another week passes by and I feel like the person's not okay with me. And then it's like, at times I feel like I'm trying to... I don't know, I feel like no matter what I do, I'm not good enough. Which kind of sucks from just, like, a personal perspective. And it's like, sometimes I feel like my words even get taken out of context. And then it's like, you see something, or you hear something, and then it's like, but that's not what I was saying at all, or trying to convey, you know? Like, a couple days back, right? Like, I had to go back and watch my own VOD, because sometimes I don't even remember what I say at my own VODs. Because I just, like, shoot from the hip a lot of times when I do, like, streams. So, I was shooting, like, from the hip, I guess, about something. I was saying about how, like, I was talking about my old ex, right? And I said this before. My old... Oops. Should have not been looking away, genius. I was talking about my old ex. Like, the last, like, serious ex that I had. And the serious ex that I had was somebody who was an off-Broadway actress. Because people know Dread works in film and television. Even though technically I'm kind of about to leave the whole thing. It looks like, oh my god, I should have been paying attention. Hold that thought. This might be too serious a monster to have this conversation. Hold that thought for a second. Shield here. Shield up. The Iron Guard must prevail, Dread Knights. I'm using Gunlance here. Oh. Let's wait. Fuck. Everything I've been doing, by the way, today has been like 9-star, 10-star friends. I've been weak quest. I think with the exception of that arc hold last time, because I really didn't look, I was like, I just want to... Oh, he moved there. Yeah, so... Let me hold here. So yeah, you know, I've just been in that situation where it's just kind of... I don't want to say hopelessness. I don't feel like it's hopelessness. Oh my goodness, this thing hits way hard with my armor. I think because I have Frenzy too. Let's heal up. It might be the liability of this hunt because I'm not, like, locked into... Do I have null bearers on me? I don't. Alright, let's do this, because I'm definitely going to need it. I don't know, I hate that feeling of, like, no matter what you do, or no matter what you say, or no matter... that it's just like you're in a never-winning situation. You know? It's like, I wake up sometimes in the morning, I'm like, what did I do now? I don't mean that to be mean, I'm just like... You know, communication is kind of really important, but I felt like... And, oh, I'm sorry, that's why I got scatterbrained with for a second. I felt like the other day I was talking about, like, my old ex, and that she was an off-Broadway actress. So, I have mentioned this before, like, when I come, like, I don't know, well, hold that, because this guy's trying to one-shot me here. When I look for, not, like, look, but when, like, I'm interested in people, I usually try to find people that are, not fine, but the people that interest me usually are people who are, like, very artistic and passionate, right? So, you know, obviously, if I work in film and television, I like people that I can, like, talk about, you know, camera shots to, people I can talk about themes to, things I can talk about symbolism to. If I watch an anime, like, the person will be passionate about the anime. Again, I've mentioned this before, even though it doesn't look like it because I'm not like a singer. I do really love music and stuff. I love talking about musical themes and tone, tempo and stuff like that. So I felt like I said that on stream, and I felt like something right after kind of felt like a response to something I was saying. And yeah, that's fine. I understand that, but then I wasn't there for it too, keep it in mind, because I've just been so busy. I felt like somebody kind of felt a certain way because of it. And it wasn't like me saying that that person wasn't, like, I don't know, good enough, right? What's the word you even use? That wasn't me saying that at all. It was just me, like, you know, just saying. In fact, I was probably trying to compliment the person indirectly. But, you know, when you do stuff like that, sometimes I guess because I'm very discreet about how I do everything, it got taken the wrong way, maybe. I don't know. I came away from that like, oh man, what did I do now? Maybe I should just like constantly shut up and not talk anymore. No. Block. It kind of sucks like that too. So like I've been figuring out like stuff, you know. It's kind of weird. Like interpersonal communications I feel like has gotten so much harder as I've gotten older. You know. Block here. Which kind of like, you know, in its own right. Like, you know, I took interpersonal communications when I was in college. So, like, I know how to kind of talk to people. I kind of try to do my best not to, you know, be straight shooting or to, you know, I try to be kind to everybody, too. Like, I've said this so many times. I just want people to be kind to people. But it's so difficult sometimes when you work in any type of creative outlet or you work in stream sense where there's, like, you have to work online. And you're exposed to so many different types of cultures online, not like actual cultures in the sense of like actual country cultures, but like internet cultures is what I'm getting at. And I feel like, I don't know, there's some people who are really, really stuck in that streaming culture mentality. You know, that toxic streaming culture mentality. I'm not saying that it's people I know, I'm just saying in general, this is a generalization. And that's kind of like, I don't know, destructive behavior, right? Like, when you just kind of... As we've seen. I mean, anybody that knows, I've read the thing about that guy. I don't want to really talk about him. What's his name? Sukino? And there's, like, a whole controversy with this guy going on, and I see stuff like that, and it's like, I don't know, why can't people, like, just be normal as streamers sometimes? Why is everything so weird? Like, I don't know, like, when it comes to emotional maturity, I feel like a lot of people don't have that. Like, when it comes to streaming spaces. You know? There's, like, an interesting thing that somebody brought up that's a friend of mine that's actually a streamer. I brought up the point that they felt like, after the pandemic, people don't know how to, like, be human anymore. Because they spent so much time being, like, terminally online. At the point, you know, let's hold here, block. Hello there, how are you doing today? And it was like a really good thing. I think it was, who was it? Nova. Nova was the one that brought up this point because she saw it from another streamer. And they were talking with Paul from Team, That's a Plus One, for those of you who don't know. That's like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Content creators. And they were so right. Like, I felt like they were spot on. Like, after the pandemic, people, in terms of, like, streamers, and maybe even a little bit, like, viewers don't, like, know how to act outside of like streaming and online culture, and I felt like that's just kind of still carrying over, you know, 6 years later, which is kind of crazy to think, you know. I'd love to see what everybody else is for. I might take a cart here. Oh, they powdered me at the nick of time there. How are you doing, by the way? I'm sorry that I can't really look at your name at the moment because I'm in a very intense time. How's your day been treating you? Yeah, you know, so, you know, it's a very interesting study. It's blocked. Oh, I back hopped into death there. That was a skill issue on my part, Dread Knights. How are you doing, Maximus? Have you been here before, right? If I remember correctly. It's been a while. It's been a while. How are you doing? How are you doing? Welcome, welcome. You know? So, it's just, like, fascinating. I've been, like, I see so much stuff on the internet and these stories going on, and it's like, yeah, nobody... It really is the case, even in streaming culture, which is why I try to not spend too much time in scenes because of that. Oh my goodness, I might be. Oh no. Let's do that. You know, my Iron Gardener is not working too well. Maybe I should refocus here. I'm gonna heal up all the way. I'm gonna kind of be a little bit scaredy cat right now because I just gotta get a reset. This is a 9-star gore, so he can kind of one-shot you pretty quickly. You gotta be very, very careful. So it's, like, fascinating. But like I said, Dread's kind of had, it's, like, so many different sentiments the last couple of days regarding so many different things. As I'm, like, preparing to start, like, a new chapter, not only on this channel, but in life, you know? That's gonna be moving me in a little bit of a different direction in terms of, like, channel content, as well as just, like, a direction in life. And, like, it's just... Man, I just kind of would like to see Western VTubing be a little bit less toxic. Okay, block that. You know. Let's see if we can get this gore. We gotta purposely get the stupid horns out of the way, right? Okay, that's a big boom boom. To reload. Alright, reposition. See if I can get this. I'm trying to get the KO here, in case you're wondering, ladies and gentlemen. Reset. You know. Dread's just kind of going through stuff. Not, like, negatively, you know. I've gotten to the point where I try not to be, like, super negative as a VTuber, because it's, like, sucks to be like that. I'm seeing so many other VTubers right now that are so negative and down on things. And it's like Nimmy Nightmare says, VTubing is fun. I feel like if we're not having fun VTubing and really, like, enjoying and stuff, like, why are we doing it, right? It begs the question then, you know. Okay. Poke, 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 poke. I'm gonna try to see if I can get a couple shots off here. This is intense, huh? Oh my goodness. Look at this. This dude really one-shots me in this armor, and I have, like, a pretty good gear. Udon is also a Lance user, a regular Lance user. Is there another monster coming here? Oh, this might be a wash in terms of this time. I'm not panicking. Who's panicking? I'm not panicking. You're the one's panicking. I have a feeling my team's about to bounce from this. Maybe. Oop. We can't really dung bomb the other monster because I don't think it goes away. Trying to get into position here again, too. Oh, man. Rough content. We've been doing hard stunts today. Oh, great. Oh, no. I am afraid. Why did you close the gate there? No. I'm gonna have Farcaster so I don't get some supplies, because that might be a liability there. Yeah, so it's just interesting. Life has been interesting. I'm trying to stay that positive VTuber that wants everybody around him and ours to be positive about VTubing, but man, as the days progress, it gets so hard to keep that message to so many different people. Which is why I think I'm gonna kind of scale back a little bit in terms of, like, VTuber interactions for a bit. You know, because I feel like I need a break from certain things. Like, I'm still with the indie stuff. I'll still, like, interact with indies that are, like, pulling stuff with me. But, like, I need a break from our type of VTuber spaces for a while, because I just can't deal with it. You know? It's just too much nonsense. When everybody should just be kind of, like, doing their best and having fun. Block. Okay. Go. That flash bomb is not going to do anything. Use a potion here. You think we're going to be able to do this unsuccessfully? I feel like we have to go for a capture the minute it's capturable. Oh, thank goodness for a shield. Reload here, block. I have guard up free, so I can do most unblockable attack. Block. Reload. Block. Punch, punch, punch. Wing. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, cool. Punch. Alright, let's block. Okay. Good. I'm sorry if I'm going a little bit. I want to talk about our stuff too, but this hunt's so hard I gotta kind of lock in here, because if I don't lock in here, it's gonna be my game. Oh, we gotta bust the head so he can just go down. That sounds so out of context, but that's literally what I gotta do here. And two monsters being just up in on themselves is not, like, helping. I gotta kind of get some distance here, because if I don't... Oh, Zotax, no! I think this hunt might be a wash. Say, I can't block from behind, so I gotta be very careful of the raid out, which is, like, breathing down my neck right now. It's kind of scary. Reset. Block. Alright. Why am I doing this? I could do a couple shells. Uh-oh. Reposition, reposition, reposition. That's a life. Just in case. Okay, good. Trying to keep everybody in the fight here. Oh, no. The timing on that was so off. It's so unfortunate. I know it wasn't my teammate's fault, though. Gotta deal with that, right? Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, no. Pour one out for the homies, guys. Pour one out for the homies. It's a GG there. No, 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 no. 07. 07. Well, it happens sometimes for nights. It just happens. Yusai from that would like to give us a meal. Are we already here? Or not? My voucher ticket's still good, so we're just gonna go. Oh, first time of the day, that was unsuccessful. That's unfortunate, but it happens sometimes. That's a hard quest. Maybe had the Ray Dow not shown up, we would have been able to lock in there. I am responsible, though. I did take a cart there. I was one of the carts, you know, so I have some culpability to that as well. Let's craft some honey. Yeah, you know, so I've been thinking a lot of things. I hate, like, there's so much, like, negativity going on right now, just in VTuber spaces. I just would like to see a little bit more positivity. It would help, like, for my morale in general. You know? Okay. Let's go. Lobby is open, by the way, anybody that's in chat. You're more than welcome to jump in. We're just, like, helping our people with a request. I do need tickets from this, but I don't know. You know what? Oh, it's a manual. They won't let us in anyway. So let's do the... Is this a 9-star or 8-star? Looks like it's an 8-star. We'll do that for the materials and whatnot. That's everything, too. It sucks, like, in creation spheres when everything you say gets taken out of context. You know? It's so easy on the internet, too. But I think Nova and Paul from... with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Content creators, them in particular, I think hit it on the nail as to why things have been like why we're seeing Sukino type incidents and where we're seeing, you know, I think I'm pronouncing his name wrong because I'm not familiar with him, to be honest with you. Because I really don't watch like that many streamers to begin with. But you know, I think that's why we're seeing more people like behaving badly and not being mature because, you know, the pandemic made people be terminally online and they got stuck in that like streamer mentality and never grew up or out of it, which is, it's unfortunate, but you know, that's part of life. You know, I'm, you know, a millennial, as I've mentioned before, so I come from a bit of an older time period, so like a lot of stuff that I see people do, I'm like, I don't get it. Why do these guys act like this? What's the benefit in doing that? Like, and I feel like it's counterproductive to what people are trying to accomplish in terms of goals. That's me, you know? What do I know? Have I been VTubing for like 6 years already at this point? And, you know, I've had moderate success just being a regular dude on the internet. From time to time, you know? Because I feel like that's the best thing I can do for my viewers is give them the most authentic experience that they can have. You know, and that's kind of like how I like the world, because I saw like also something... This is why you shouldn't doom scroll. Where people are like complaining about, you know, certain types of conspirators and like they have to be the girlfriend experience. If they're not the girlfriend experience, get out of like the space. Which is something I don't like to do as a creator. I never wanted to be the girlfriend experience. Because A, I feel like that's kind of creepy for a guy to come off that way. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it for the creators that do that. Keep that in mind. That's not what I'm saying. But for me, as for my personal level of comfort, I wouldn't be comfortable doing that type of stuff. I like to just be that guy that you can hang out and have beers with. And, you know, that guy who, you know, can tell you, hey, this is the type of build that you should be playing for Monster Hunter or for Diablo 3 or for Diablo 2. And that's kind of what I like to do. I like to enjoy video games. So, you know, like, sometimes people don't even understand, like, me as a creator. Like, I always put it, like, the point of this channel is just to try to help people with their builds, try to, like, you know, give people a space that they can hang out with another gamer. And on top of that, are we doing an Arch Temper? I don't remember. No, it's a regular Temper because the Arch Temper was full. Oh, this is gonna be easy. I was wondering why I wasn't doing, like, that third big attack. Alright, Swing here, good. Swing here, good. So I try to, you know, be that. But sometimes people are like, I don't get it, why is he acting arrogant? And they don't understand, like, I'm not acting arrogant on stream, that it's actually part of my VTuber bit. And my VTuber bit is that I want to be, like, the world's strongest gamer. There is some truth to that. But it's also, like, an act, you know? Because there's a lot of people on the internet that will, you know, joke around and say pro gaming, but I actually was a pro gamer for a very, very long time, as well as a pro TCG player. That's actually a little bit of myself that I put into the character, but then I also amp it up a little bit because, you know, that's kind of what VTubers do. But it was kind of weird because, like, I have a person, I guess that's a friend, maybe, or like a confidant that doesn't understand that, and then, like, I was really being arrogant. And not, like, it's a character that I play. It's not meant to be, like, all of it taken truly at, like, full value. You know, so stuff like that kind of, like, So I try to explain it, too, because it's, like, you know, it's a character. I mean, I could be a little bit arrogant at times, but I've seen way worse. And it's not, like, arrogant, like, to be mean. It's just silly, like, hey, don't mess with the great and powerful Dreadscape gaming and stuff like that, you know? But it's kind of, you know, it is what it is. Could you give me a second, Dread Knights? I apologize for that. Let me... Sorry about that. I had a phone call that came in at the worst time. I'm probably gonna die here unless somebody heals me. They're probably like, why is this new? But yeah, that's what it was. I had to mute. I had a phone call. I don't want it to come up on stream. It was one of those ones I had to take. I'm like, I'm streaming right now. Can't talk. Yeah, you know, so. But yeah, you know, it's stuff like that. You know. Oh, man. Okay, 2 attempts off? That's fine. This is, like, easy monster to deal with. And reposition here. I could shield, but it'll take a while, and he's gonna do that triple attack. So yeah, that's basically what the channel's always been around. I try to do, like, informative content every once in a while as well. You know, we can hit him here, because once he does that attack, he's open for a weakness attack, in case you don't know. You know, but sometimes it's, like, a little bit, you know. And I understand, too, because, like, there's probably plenty of people that I've watched back in the day, and, you know, and I'm like, I don't get it. So I understand when people watch and then they're like, wait, this guy's a jerk. No, it's an act. It's not. I don't actually act like a jerk. Yeah. It'd be like that sometimes, though. Like, I could also tell, like, another story. Like, some people are probably wondering what happened to my Discord that I, like, reopened. I closed it down again. Because, like, the thing about, like, with the Discord was I had, like, a bunch of members that were in it. And, like, every time I was trying to run by, like, a different idea of trying to do something a little different that I wanted to do, it would always kind of get shot down by the Discord members. Like, oh, why are you doing that? That would be stupid. Like I said, I was interested in playing Minecraft because I've mentioned this before. I've never finished Minecraft. Like, actual game, I've never seen that poem thing at the end. So I've always been, like, interested in trying to play Minecraft. But the problem is, again, I don't really know anybody that plays Minecraft. I have Minecraft on the Switch, mind you. I don't have it on the PC, because I didn't buy it there. I bought it on the Switch because I was like, hey, Switch on the go, Minecraft on the go. That seems like it's a good idea, and then it was kind of a regret purchase at the time. But it was, like, the only way to play Minecraft on a controller. I've mentioned this before, even though I'm a PC gamer mostly these days. My comfort level is, like, playing on controller for stuff. Oops. Shouldn't have looked away there. So, you know, it got kind of shot down then, and then there was other things like, why are you playing this game and you're not playing this game? Why are you playing Monster Hunter instead of playing Yu-Gi-Oh? Why are you playing Yu-Gi-Oh instead of Monster Hunter? Why are you doing this? And the Discord just became mentally fatiguing for me to run. Just because it's like, people only really wanted to interact if I was doing, like, playing a game that they wanted to see me play. And the thing about it is, like, I mentioned this so many times on this channel before. I'm gonna get hit here unless I block. Okay. That was a well-timed block on my part. Like, the thing about it is, this is a variety channel at this point. I don't want to play, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! 24/7. I've said this before. I don't want to play Monster Hunter 24/7, even though I really enjoy Monster Hunter. I don't want to play Dead by Daylight 24/7. If I had to play the same game all the time, I would be miserable. As opposed to, like... And here's the other thing that a lot of people don't know. I've been trying to explain this, too. When it comes to, like, me playing video games on stream, people think like I'm playing video games all day, 24/7. That's not the case. Believe it or not, like a normal video game session for me is like playing the game on stream, and that's all the time I have to play a video game. Maybe on weekends when I'm not like super busy, I will prep content. Like I'll prep stuff like a Yu-Gi-Oh deck, or I'll prep stuff in it. But I don't spend like all 24 hours a day playing video games, which is like a very common misconception. I do everything. Like even like when people see sometimes I pop into our stream, it's not like sometimes I'll be on my phone and I'm just like somewhere at a gathering or somewhere else and I'm just like bored and I just want to like watch something because I'm stuck at like a personal IRL event that I really don't want to be in, but I have to do it, you know, from a professional standpoint, you know, or maybe I'm in like a meeting of some nature and you know, I just want to like have something up in the background, or maybe I'm working on something and just want to like, you know, have something up in the background while I'm working on something. There's like so many different things. So, you know, it's just one of those things. Like, believe it or not, Dread doesn't get to play as much video games as he would like to. In fact, I'll give you an example. This weekend, I played maybe 4 hours of Monster Hunter on Saturday because I was prepping these builds that I'm showing off today. Other than that, I didn't play any video games. I didn't play any video games Sunday. I didn't play any literally video games outside of the stream that I did on Friday. And a little bit afterwards, and that was about it. Before then, it was like, what, 2 hours that I played every stream that I've done? Roll. And then I had jury duty one day, and it came to, like, you know, that's one of the things that people don't, I think some people mistake it, and they're like, oh, he's gaming all the time. No, no, no. I will game if I'm at a tournament, but I haven't gone to a tournament in a while because I've mentioned this before. I kind of retired from the esports stuff. Even though I'm kind of debating going back into it. It's just, like, different things are going on in life. I'm trying to figure out where the hell even I'm gonna be, so then I could like figure out if I'm gonna like sign with another team or if I'm gonna do something a little bit differently. Hold that thought. So that's kind of what things are at right now. Oh no, they triple guarded. Oof, got 2 groups in a row where it's just been, you know. So it's like stuff like that, but I don't really game as much as people think I do. You know, it's like always the thing of like he's always online, or it's not the case either. I have a phone, and I have a phone for business, right? So, like, I'm constantly in contact with, like, other people that are business contacts and other people that are helping me with Dreadscape JP branch that are, like, actual business, not partners per se, but they work basically for me at this point. So, you know, with those type of things going on, you know, I always kind of have to be on my phone, so my phone's on me. So if I'm on my phone doing something, I kind of peek in and stuff, because I like to, you know, support a whole bunch of people. That's just me. Maybe I'm stupid like that. I feel like I sometimes give my support to things too quickly that I probably shouldn't. Which I hate to feel that way, but I do feel that way sometimes. Oh, we're waiting on confirmation. I think we'll never get in here, so let's go to something else. I hate those manual quests. They should have, like, a different filter for that. We could try it, because just for the hell of it, but I don't think it's going to be successful, but we'll try it. For the sake of argument or arch-tempered. So yeah, you know, that's the funny thing about, like, content creation, VTubing things, too. People think you're always online, and they always think that you're always playing video games when you're not. You know? Which is kind of difficult. Like, it does wear thin on me a little bit, too, because it's like, I would wish and would like to have people see me for things differently. And it's one of those things that, like, if you've never really sat down and had, like, very meaningful conversations with me, or you haven't, like, you probably really don't know me as a human being or a person. So it's, you know, you're going to jump to conclusions, right? Because that's just kind of how the human brain works. There's a fascinating video, ironically, about stuff of this nature. When I went, ironically, to jury duty last Wednesday, I only had to do one day. Thankfully, they dismissed me because there's this one-day rule where if you don't get called into the actual courtroom at all on the first day, they dismiss you. That's what happened to me. But that's besides the point. So what ended up happening was they showed a video, and they showed a video of how people... Why is Atlas lying low? Is there a whole bunch of carts to this quest already? Oh, there's 2 faints. This ain't happening. I'm backing out, too. This is a wash. They're not going to survive this with 2 carts already. I'm backing out. I know better than to stay in that hunt. Yeah. So, like, oh, it's 5 minutes in 2 carts. That's really bad. So, yeah, you know, with the situation, they showed a video as to how people see things, and they'll see things, and they'll come to these preconceived notions because they're trying to tell people to be, like, impartial jurors. And the video was, like, an interesting psychological study, because it's kind of true. And the reason I bring it is because people will see on the internet one aspect of me, right? They'll see the sweaty gamer side, they'll see stuff that I've done, like, esports side, they'll see them very passionate about video games. And they will be like, that's the only thing that Dredd cares about, and that's all he does with his life, and that's all there is to him. And that is a gross exaggeration to the stuff that I do. And sometimes it bothers me. Sometimes it does really bother me. But there's, like, stuff that you can't help, because that's just, like, the persona that you have online, right? Like, you know, if I start talking about, like, films and stuff that I'm really passionate here, it wouldn't be a gaming channel, and then people wouldn't be interested in coming for, like, game streams and stuff, right? You know, there's sides to me. So sometimes it's like frustrating that you get labeled a certain way, you know, or judged a certain way, and that video ironically is so true, how sometimes people see things and that's the preconceived psychological notion, which I thought was a fascinating video in regards to, like, everything. It's just a fascinating study piece, and it's kind of true, you know. I feel like, and the other thing too about that video that was very interesting is how that, you know, your environment and stuff shapes how you feel and think about things. So, like, you know, there's people who are born into a certain culture, there's people who are born into certain things, there's people who are treated a certain way by family and stuff, and then they, like, let those experiences, whether they're negative or positive, shape and define, like, their preconceived notions of things. It was such a fascinating video. For ironically something that's telling you how to be a good juror serving for jury duty, which is kind of crazy. I bring it up because it was just like something I found fascinating. Maybe other people don't find stuff of that nature. It was poorly shot, though. I will say, like, New York State has to do a better job with, like, their film department when it comes to, like, filming jury duty videos, because, like, one of the things that always bars me, like, with camera work, is when you don't give enough people headroom. Now, headroom, basically, for those of you who don't know, is the amount of space between the top of a person's head and the top of the screen. If you give too little, it looks like the person's head is touching the top of the screen. If you give too much, it makes the person look too tiny. So you have to find the right exact balance of headroom. So I'm watching this video, and as somebody who's for obviously film and television, I'm looking at it, and in different shots, there is so much inconsistency with the headspace in the video, to the point where, like, there's one point in the video where the judge actually has way too much headspace, where he looks like he's very tiny, like a tiny, tiny little dude. Then there's one time where it looks like the top of his head is kissing the top of the screen, which is not what you want when you're filming. You want enough headspace so that it's not too much or too little. And it's kind of crazy how sometimes you'll see in just, like, regular videos that you watch randomly. I've seen it even sometimes in really low budget films that are independent, where they don't follow the rules of headspace, which always drives me nuts too, because it's like, you know, I'm one of those guys that when I watch a movie, I can, like, I always look for, like, the ticket on the car to make sure if it has an actual right year for the inspection notice. I will look at a house, like, if it's a time period piece, to make sure that everything in the house is actually from the right time period. Like, something that drives me insane. And I know a lot of people know about this, because if you've ever watched Game of Thrones, everybody knows about Game of Thrones, the infamous scene with the coffee cup, where the Starbucks cup is still there. There's a person that actually has a role in film and television that is, the person's job is the continuity department, right? So their job while they're on set is to make sure that everything has continuity to it, that there's nothing that is going to cause an issue on stream. Hold on, not stream, excuse me, on, you know, the television product or the film product. And you could tell in that Game of Thrones episode where the Starbucks coffee cup was left that the person either was out to lunch, didn't do their job, or didn't care. Because it, like, that ruined that scene forever, because then it's like, wow, we didn't know that there was Starbucks in this fantasy medieval period. They must have been, like, super advanced and stuff. Stuff like that is just, like, I know people made fun of it, but for me, that's like, I don't want to, you know, professional and stuff, like, that is something that will get somebody normally fired from their job I've seen people get fired from film and television industry for less. Because they didn't give somebody the right cup of coffee. Somebody didn't give the person, like, the hot water that they requested. I've seen people be so mean to production assistants over the years. Which is, like, the worst thing to possibly do. I've seen people treat interns a certain way that is unbecoming. Like, you just don't treat human beings that way. But, like, yeah, a person for that should have gotten fired. So I'm the type of guy that does that type of stuff when I'm watching film and television. I like to, you know, break down themes. But some of that stuff, like, continuity things always bother me. I kind of look for it sometimes in VTubers' faces, too. Because I kind of like to see. I'm pretty sure there's stuff in my conversation today didn't have so much continuity as I would like. I just kind of wasn't very yapping me today, because I'm just, like... I had so much stuff on my mind that I just wanted to get off my mind that I haven't been able to. There's so many conversations I need to have that I haven't been able to have that are just kind of like, oh my goodness, it's just... It's one of those things, man. You know? It's very tough being Dreadscape Gaming. For many different reasons I would love to talk about. Where's the rest of the team? I feel like there's nobody here. Walk. Oh, we got the perfect parry there. Power Clash engaged! Nice. Pretty loud. You know? Have any of you in chat had, like, a movie that you've watched and then you've seen, like, the continuity issue with it? Uh-oh. I'm pinned. How did I get pinned? I thought I was guarded there. I guess I didn't because it was looked away. Somebody save me. Okay, thank you. Smallville. Terrible Superman series. Some people love it. I hated it. I think Supernatural was okay. My sister was a big fan of Vampire Diaries. I don't know if anybody was a fan of, like, Vampire Diaries, but my sister used to watch that show religiously. That and, like, any of you familiar with an old show by the name of Buffy the Vampire Slayer? My sister was really into Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I actually like Buffy the Vampire Slayer as well. Probably because my sister gaslighted me into watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer with her. So I kind of, like, got into this series like that. It's a damn shame what happened with the remake. Like, not a remake. It was like a sequel series that they were going to do. I think it was on Hulu, if I'm not mistaken. And then Hulu decided at the last minute that they were going to pass on it. Which just kind of killed, like, the whole vibe. And it was interesting because they were going to kind of do the show from, like, what happened after the first series. So, like, Buffy wasn't going to be, like, Slayer anymore, and she was going to be in that mentor role, and they were going to have new characters, and they were going to try to bring back as many people as they could. And then it just kind of, like, Hulu was like, nah, this doesn't have enough Sarah Michelle Gellar in it. And that was, like, one of the reasons why they decided they didn't want to move forward with it anymore. They also said it was, like, too whimsy, whatever that means. I don't know how a television show can be too whimsy, but I guess it was probably pushing narratives that people at, unfortunately, Hulu, because, you know, Hulu is basically Fox / Disney, and it's unfortunately kind of like a certain political sphere with that. So I guess it was maybe, you know, too one direction, that they felt it was too much. And Buffy the Vampire Slayer is probably one of the shows that was definitely going to be more along the all-inclusive type of thing, which I, you know, because it was always, because obviously anybody that has ever watched Vampire Buffy Slayer knows that Willow, the character, that, I forgot what her name is, Allison Hannigan played her, you know, starts off as a heterosexual character in it, and then eventually becomes a lesbian. She gets into a relationship with, I forgot if it was what her character's name was, and so much so that that character ends up getting killed at one point, and that turns, like, Willow evil for a while, which is kind of like a pretty cool storyline arc for Buffy. I think it was, like, one of the better ones. Alongside the one where Buffy's mom gets killed by that, like, god. Like, there's so many good ones. Like, a lot of people... Uh-oh. That's what I get for looking away. I take that. That's my fault. My fault there. But Buffy was a really good show. I don't really care for, like, the Buffy and Angel dynamic. Because I felt like Angel was, like, a stereotypical pretty vampire with no substance to him as a character. But I did like when Buffy got mixed up in a relationship with Spike. And the cool thing about, like, Spike was he had his whole redemption arc, right? So, like, Spike started as a villain in the show. And then after a while, he started to kind of, like, I don't know, I guess you could say he was stalking Buffy, right? And he's, you know, Buffy, like, completely hated Spike because he had caused so much trouble and had caused Angel to go evil at one point, too. Or I think it was Buffy slept with Angel. I forget. It's been a while since I've seen the show. But the point that I'm trying to make is, like, Spike was, like, an arch nemesis of hers. And then, eventually, he started to fall for her. And she was like, I hate his guts. I can't stand him. He is so loathsome, and I can't. I hate you. And at the end of the show, they started to hook up. And they eventually went from friends to lovers. So much so that, actually, Spike, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen the final episode of Buffy, if you're watching it right now, or you're interested in watching it, maybe, like, tune off for, like, 30 seconds. No, I need the viewership, though. I kid. But, yeah, so what ended up happening, this is where spoiler, Spike ends up sacrificing himself to stop the final evil and save, like, Buffy and Sunnydale. So he goes from this character in the beginning of the show that's an absolute villain that comes back as a recurring evil to eventually falling in love with this person that was like a star-crossed lover of his. And then eventually that person that hated his guts actually falls in love with him, which then eventually turns to him having his whole redemption arc where he, you know, sacrifices himself for the greater good, finally truly redeeming himself. And that's kind of weird because then they do like the Angel spin-off TV series and he comes back as like a ghost, which is just so weird because I felt like he had such a good redemption arc that you don't really need to bring him. Did I get killed there? No. Okay, it was somebody else. Wow, these last 3 hunts haven't gone too well. I carded the last one. My other team carded. Was that a 9-star one? I don't even know. Some of these could be pretty difficult. I'm going to switch to regular Lance now since we're at an hour. But yeah, you know, so I felt like Spike's redemption arc was so well written and so well done by Josh Whedon. Josh Whedon was the creator of the show. And mind you, I was pretty, you know, young, a very young chibi when this show came out. And my sister, like, put me, but I remember all these themes because I did watch it in syndication too, when it came out. But, like, Spike's story is so good. A redemption arc. And then they screwed up by doing the Angel spinoff and bringing him into the show because, like, what happened was with Angel, the first season did pretty low in the ratings. So they were trying to figure out how to, like, we keep the show from getting canceled. Like, we know, we're gonna bring back Spike. But we're not gonna bring him back alive. We're gonna bring him as a ghost so he can torment Angel. And because Angel, you know, Angel hated Spike. And then the fact that, like, he was in love with Buffy and stuff just made it even more crazy. Because, you know, it adds a whole layer of, well, Spike was having a relationship with Buffy. But Angel was always in love with Buffy for a while, but they couldn't be together and all this stuff. And, you know, I gotta do this. This one seems like it's fun. I want some talismans. I feel like our Arc Volts are not gonna go too well at this point, Dread Knights. So, yeah, you know, there's that. So, I don't know. I hate when our shows do spin-offs and then, like, bring a character back only to ruin them. I felt that way also, like, with... What's a show where they ruin the character a lot? Anybody here ever seen the show Bates Motel? So, Bates Motel was basically a TV series that was supposed to follow the Psycho movie. Psycho with Norma Bates and stuff. So that show actually started out really, really good and very well written. And then about 3/4 into the show, they started to kind of jump the shark, right? And by the end of the show, instead of keeping Norman alive, this is a spoiler alert again for anybody who hasn't seen the show, but it's been out for so many years. So I feel like there's a statute of limitations on spoilers. If a show's been out for at least 10 or 15 years and you haven't seen it, it's not technically a spoiler at that point. You know? So, what ended up happening in that show was, at the end, they actually commit the cardinal sin of having Norman Bates' character die. He gets killed off. Which is not how it goes in the Psycho movies. And there were, like, a lot of characters there that just kind of, like, were interesting characters and they just kind of jumped the shark on them, where they completely ruined them. They had, like, this great character by the name of Dylan that was supposed to be, like, this pseudo half-brother of Norman, and he doesn't really play, like, a very pivotal role. From, like, the 4th season, he's just kind of there, and he's kind of not. And then they bring him back for the last season just to use him as a plot device to subdue Norman and stuff. And also to take away, like, Norman's only, like, love interest in the show. Which is just kind of, at that point, it's just like they had jumped the shark. Like, the 5th season was so terribly written and I understand why. You know, there's sometimes where it's a show, like, you know, I had high hopes for it, and then as the seasons progressed, it just kind of got silly. Because, like, there's this one incident, too, like, I remember in the first season where they kind of did this whole whodunit story as to who murdered Norman's teacher, because there's this whole controversy of, like, Norman goes... This teacher basically drives Norman home from a school dance, and there's this whole controversy of, did Norman kill her, or did Norman not kill her? And eventually... the cops come to the conclusion it wasn't Norman who did it, that he was nowhere in the vicinity of it, and that it was, like, somebody that was her ex that killed her. And it turns out, like, so much later on we find out that, like, apparently Norman's teacher decided to, like, have a sexual relations with Norman. And what ended up happening was he went into full Norma Bates mode because, you know, he's a very crazy, sick individual. And what ends up happening is he actually killed the teacher, but it was kind of dumb because at that point it's like, well, you had blamed the guy and the guy went to jail and stuff, so why couldn't we just do this thing where he got away with it because there was no conclusive evidence and we all kind of knew Norman did it as opposed to that? I don't know, that show kind of always hurt my brain. I'm playing regular Lance now, in case you're wondering, so the attack rotations are going to be different. It's not Gunlance anymore. Now we're basically a god of parroting. Or parrying, not parroting, excuse me. Alright, if you have an issue with YouTube, please fix them in a hold. Hopefully it was not. Sometimes Spectrum will be silly billy there. I think you should be fine with that. Okay, we got the parry off there. Alright, please hold. I'm sorry about that if you're watching and you had a little bit. Sometimes Spectrum Lilith is hunting with us, okay. We have a Lilith. I know one or two Liliths. Not personally, keep that in mind. Okay. Let's go. Let's poke. Okay, good. Nice. Good damage rotation. Yeah, so, you know, Bates Motel I had high expectations for, and then it kind of got bad. Scrubs was also like that. I really enjoyed Scrubs for a couple seasons, and then when they got to the last season... Am I the only one hunting this? I feel like it. Okay. Hold that thought. I felt like when they got to, like, the last, like, 2 seasons of Scrubs, they jumped the shark. Because here's an interesting fact about Scrubs. The final 2 seasons of Scrubs was not actually supposed to be Scrubs. It was supposed to be a different television series. But, the producers of the show felt like if they didn't involve, like, the Scrubs characters in it, it wouldn't have done well in terms of the rating, would have been canceled. So instead, they put out a half-baked 2 seasons of Scrubs where their characters weren't really in it. And then it just ended up kind of getting canceled anyway, even though they had, like, a final season. Now, like, Scrubs is apparently back, but I haven't seen any of the new season, because I'm one of those people, too, like, if you bring back a show that already, like, finished, I kind of feel negatively about it. Like, I remember when they brought back Roseanne, and then there was the controversy with Roseanne, because obviously Roseanne said some horrible things about people and individuals, and that got her removed from the show, and then they made the Connors. I think the Connors might still be on, but it's just like, is it really the same show? Why do we need, like, Roseanne back in the first place? I don't really understand why we have to bring back old shows. Why can't we have, like, new stuff? You know, give new writers an opportunity to write something new, something fresh, something, you know, that's not, like, a rehash of stuff. I feel like that's the same thing with movies, too. Like, I feel like we're just stuck in this phase where, like, all the movies that are being made right now are either book adaptations. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with book adaptations, keep that in mind. Sometimes book adaptations can be pretty good. But I feel like, you know, there's been situations, or not situations, but there's a lot of stuff that's book adaptations that don't really need to be turned into book. I've seen a lot of sci-fi books that get made, and they, like, bomb at the box office because they're, like, things that really, no matter what you do in terms of their adaptations, they're not going to be good. Just because the stories are so hard to adapt and you have to do so many civil liberties to change them. You know, it's like Twilight. Should I even say about Twilight? I'm not a fan. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I have seen the Twilight movies. I'm not saying that they're, you know, they're for a specific audience. I respect that audience's opinion on Twilight. I'm not going to say it's bad. You know, I've watched Twilight with an ex of mine. I will probably still watch Twilight if I was in with somebody, if that's their favorite thing too, you know, because that's what you do as a good boyfriend, right, or girlfriend for that matter. You watch stuff that third person. But yeah, you know, Twilight is one of those things where some of the stuff that happened in Twilight, that happened in the books, is much, much different because it's hard to, like, adapt stuff of that nature because it's kind of hard to get, like, it right. So I get kind of annoyed when... They did the same thing with 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey is obviously way more explicit. Oh my goodness, that's what I get for talking about that. But 50 Shades of Grey is way, 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 way more explicit in the book than it is actually in any of the films, because they have to obviously tone it down. I'm playing like a bot right now to get that R rating, right? Because if they get an NC-17 rating, or God forbid they get like an X rating, that kills like box office numbers, right? But I've gotten to the point with movies where I don't want to see like book adaptations of hard to adapt books. I've gotten to the point where I don't want to see like a whole bunch of superhero films. I've gotten to the point where... Hold that thought. Fuck. I've gotten to the point where I don't want to see, like, a whole bunch of Marvel movies, a whole bunch of superhero adaptations. I don't want to see a remake of a movie that doesn't need a remake because the original movie was good. I don't... Like, give me a sequel. I'll be fine with a sequel to a movie over usually a remake. That's why, like, I haven't seen the new Avatar movies because I just felt like Avatar, the first film, is good as a standalone, that I don't feel like there's needs more. But I will respect James Cameron for not just trying to do like a remake 10 years later. You know, like, I truly respect him for that. Okay, good. Let's go here. Nice. You know, like, I respect James Cameron for that, because he just went and did like stories to expand the universe. As opposed to like Marvel, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with Marvel. I read Marvel comics still all the time. I'm reading currently Death Spiral, but I feel like with Marvel, it's like, do we really need Secret Wars? Like, for me, Secret Wars is Secret Wars if you do it like the comics, but the Secret Wars that they're doing is like trying to mess with the MCU, where they can try to recon certain characters in, certain characters out of it, and I don't know how I feel about like stuff like that, because it's like, for me, Secret Wars is the original storyline. If you're not doing the original storyline and you're doing an adaptation of it, I'm not going to say that it's bad, because I heard that in test screenings it did phenomenal. Some people who saw the test screenings of Avengers Doomsday said it's the best Marvel movie since Endgame, which is saying a lot, because Endgame is almost like a perfect Marvel movie for that point, alright? Block here. So, you know, I'm excited for it, but do we really need more Marvel movies necessarily? Because I feel like a lot of the audience at this point is kind of burnt out based on the numbers that we've seen for the last previous Marvel movie. Like, when they did Wicked, I still have to see the second part, unfortunately, because I was supposed to go see it in the movies with Sister Dread. It's Sister Dread. Hold that thought. There are too many monsters here, and we need to, like, dung bomb here. Hi, guys. Would you like to dung bomb a monster? There are too many monsters here. Alright. Let's get that Mitsune here. I always hate. That's why I kind of like to reposition. Is guys still with me? Yes, no? I don't know. I can't look to see. I'm gonna assume, hopefully you're... Okay, we killed the monster. Let me check OBS. I'm sorry about that. I know I'm like, are we still with me? Looks like you are kind of with me, and you're kind of not. I'm sorry about that. It seems like I'm experiencing a little bit of ISP issues. I'll wait a couple seconds to see. It should fix itself. My apologies. And Spectrum Internet. We got about half hour anyway. Let's see if it fixes itself. It should fix itself here. Okay, cool. Yeah, but like I was saying, you know, with the Marvel movies, I've gotten so, like, burnt out on everything at this point. With them, like, if you're going to do stories, do it. I think Deadpool was the last, like, Marvel film I generally liked. Deadpool 3, in particular, because I like the way they introduced the Wolverine from different, like, universe. But yeah, you know, there's stuff of that nature. Like, sequels are okay, too. Like, do we really need another Friday the 13th remake? No. Do we really need another Nightmare on Elm Street remake? No, we probably don't need any of those things, to be honest with these guys. What we do need is newer, fresh stuff. New movies with new killers, new movies, new superheroes, new, like, romantic comedies, new romance movies, new stuff, fresh stuff, interesting stuff. You know, there's a couple of things, like, I feel like there's a lot better YouTube stuff being made right now. You know? Like, there's a lot better YouTube stuff being made right now. Like, and you know, there's so much better YouTube stuff being made concurrently than anything else of that nature. You know, I'm waiting a couple seconds to see if, like, stream quality catches up, because my phone... These guys should be fine, you know. You should be good now. I'm sorry about that. My apologies. Yeah. But, you know, it's one of those things where I don't think you need more of it. Alright, with that being said, though, continue to do hunts. I'll do, like, 2 or 3 more. And then I'm kind of out for the day. I need to, like, recharge my batteries. Not not, like, actual phone batteries. Like, I need to charge my batteries mentally. Let's do this one. So, yeah, you know. That's just kind of how it goes sometimes. I don't want to have to end early, but I might. I'm hoping not to. I apologize if you're experiencing a little bit of scuffy Wi-Fi right now, because I can't. Just waiting to see here. Should be stabilizing now. Hopefully, yeah, I'm getting green. I'm gonna start the hunt. Hope for the best, expect the worst, is saying. It's a live environment, you know? There's not too much you can do about a live environment sometimes. It'd be like that. Alright, let's go. You know, but it'd be like that, Dreadites. Like, I would just want to see new stuff, too. Like, I heard, like, also, there was the Nickelodeon thing, where, like, I don't know if anybody read about this, but apparently Nickelodeon got hacked. Where Nickelodeon apparently sent an email out. That was the Avatar movie that's coming out, and apparently hackers got a hold of it, or now, like, trying to hold that movie ransom. To the point where, like, they're trying to, like, say, like, we're gonna leak this movie and stuff. Which I think kind of, like, blows, personally, from a creative standpoint. I hate when things get leaked. You know, so apparently the new Avatar movie that they've been working on for 6 years, apparently, got leaked by a hacker group that's, like, threatening to, like, leak the whole movie now. Just kind of crazy. I didn't even know they were doing, like, a new Avatar movie. But that's a kind of a situation where I'd say it's okay to remake something, because, like, they did the last Avatar movie, which, remember anybody, M. Night Shyamalan? And that was awful. Like, that was really, really awful. You know? Which is such a shame, because Avatar, the first Avatar, I don't really care for the Legend of Korra. I know there's probably, like, a Legend of Korra fan out there that's going to be really angry at me for saying that. But, like, I don't like... Like, like, the original Avatar is a really good show. Very well written. One of the last really good 2D animated cartoons available. Because we can call it cartoon, because it's not technically anime. Okay, good. Let's do this. So, like, yeah, you know, Avatar. I didn't like The Legend of Korra, though. A lot of people do, but it wasn't my cup of tea. But yeah, apparently they leaked it, so it's like, I don't know. I don't know, homies. That's something that always makes me kind of scratch my head a little bit. Alright, let's hop back here. Good. Poke, poke, poke. I have, like, perfect guard on this, so, like, even if it hits me a bit, it's not going to do too much. That's the one good thing here. Let's reposition. I'm trying to see if I could get the mount. There we go, I got the mount. Let them cook! Yes, Beelzebub! Let them cook, let them cook. You know. But Avatar, like, the first movie was really terrible, so that's fine for a remake. King Kong, did we need so many King Kong remakes? I understand, MonsterVerse is pretty cool. I did do the MonsterVerse watch-along of Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire, which I thought was, like, a phenomenal thing in its own right. You know, but sometimes, like... Okay, good. But do we really need so many remakes? Give us give original stuff in Hollywood. That's what I'd like to see at this point. Original stuff. A lot of people be like, Netflix does a lot of that stuff. Yeah, to an extent. But here's the thing. I'm not a fan of Netflix. Not as a company. I'm just not a fan of Netflix and streaming services in general. I grew up on a generation where you watch things on a television screen. So for me, I like to watch television. I don't like to watch... Oop, getting cooked here. Literally. I'm the type of person that likes to watch things on a television screen. I don't like to watch things... I didn't grow up in a generation where we watch things on computer screens. I grew up watching television. Cable TV for that, you know? So, for me, when I see, like, you know, Netflix for me, it's like, oh, man, you know, I'd rather watch this on television. So, you know, a lot of things, like, that are Netflix exclusive, including wrestling at this point, because WWE Raw is a Netflix exclusive, I don't watch, because it's like, I don't have Netflix right now. I haven't been subscribed to Netflix in a while, because I don't like to watch stuff streaming. Like, it's funny as a streamer to say I don't like to watch streaming content, but like in terms of movies and television shows, I like good old-fashioned way. I don't watch stuff on my phone. Like, when it comes to, like, watching stuff, I'll either watch on my computer or I'll throw it up on television, but I don't watch on telephone. I try to spend the least amount of time on my telephone as possible, just because then it's, like, a temptation to, like, doom scroll on social media, which is kind of, like, my concern with a lot of stuff. But I hate Netflix. Like, I don't Netflix. I don't vibe with Netflix. I've had, like, people I was in relationships with that obviously are, like, hardcore Netflix watchers. And, you know, I'll sit down and watch Netflix with them, but I'm like, can't we just throw this up on the TV instead? Like, here's the thing, like, even as I get older and stuff and, like, things start to move away from, like, actual television streams and stuff, I always have to have a TV, because I am one of these people that believes also in physical media. So I actually still buy Blu-rays. I buy whoop. Oh god, so countered there. It's fine. But yeah, I buy Blu-rays. When a movie comes out and I want the movie, I buy Blu-rays. I don't have a Netflix subscription. I have a subscription, obviously, to Hulu. I have a subscription to HBO Max because it comes within my cable television package. I'm one of those people that still have. You know, I have Amazon Video for the moment, but I probably will not always have that. I don't really shop too much on Amazon, too. Ironic. I try to, like, support mom and pop shops whenever I can. I'm one of those people, right? You know, but it's getting more difficult, too, like, even with Amazon stuff, because here's the thing, like, with Amazon, like, there's only certain things you can get in stores these days, right? So, like, I'll give an example. Blu-rays, I can't go into a Best Buy, usually, nowadays, and buy, like, a Blu-ray, because a lot of Best Buys have phased out physical media stuff, selling them in stores. Another thing that I can't, like, physically do is, like, it's hard to even get video games now in stores, because there's always left one. Like, video games, some stores don't carry video games anymore, and they're just digital. Give a case in point, look at what PlayStation 5 is doing in particular. Now they have PlayStation 5s that are not even with the disc. The new Xbox system, I don't know what the name of it is called. It is not going to apparently have physical disc. It's their way of just trying to move into that digital age that I'm not, like, super comfortable with. But here's the thing about stuff, like, people don't realize, like, with Netflix and with Hulu and with, like, buying games on the eShop and buying games, you know, hold that thought block, and buying games, you know, on the PlayStation Store, or, you know, Xbox Live, or, you know, even on Steam. As much as I love it, I'm playing a game on Steam right now. These are games that you technically don't even physically own. We're in an age now where people don't stop to think that all these things that you're doing in these streaming services, and all these things that you're doing in regards to, like, not buying physical games and stuff, is just basically you renting them on the internet. And, like, younger people might be fine with that, but older people like me, who are the millennial generation, are not cool if, like, we believe in ownership of stuff. You know? We don't believe in not owning things, you know? I am a classic video game collector. I still will collect classic video games when I can. I will go out and buy, like, NES games. I will go out and buy Sega Genesis games. I will go out, if I can track down Atari games, I will buy Atari games. If I can track down, like, some super old relics in the past, I tend to do that stuff. You know, because there's something about owning that physical media that you just can't necessarily get. You know, there's some games that just have never come out that will never be released in America. Like, there's a version of Godzilla, Godzilla the game that was the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4 game, that you just simply can't get in American stores anymore or through the digital shop, so you have to buy the Japanese version of it. And the Japanese version of it was like a PlayStation 4 exclusive, if I remember correctly, for a while. My brain could be a little foggy on these matters because it's been a while. Because I feel like the PlayStation 3 had a release for it. Here's the thing with the PlayStation 3 American release of the game. It only lets you play as Godzilla, I think that's like oh, I killed it. Okay. I didn't even know my own strength there. Well, GG's to us. The Iron Guard has prevailed yet again. Alright, let me get these carves here. Yeah, you know, so there's that, guys. There's that. There's so many different things here. I think I'm gonna end a little bit early today. Naruhodo. Yeah, you know, so like I like to still own physical, but I come from that generation. I understand that there's some people who just didn't grow up with that, which is always strange for me because whenever somebody's like, "Yeah, I'm from 2000," or yeah, like somebody tells me they're from like 2007 or 2010, I do like a double take. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like for me, it's like, eh? Dread was born in the old year, in the old century, I guess you could say. So for me, when I hear somebody, I feel a little bit old inside. Oji-san, right? Oji-san, Oji-san, Oji-san. A little bit sometimes like that. Just a little. Alright, let's see here. 11 minutes. We got a couple items. Nothing great, nothing bad. We're just here to help people. That's what I like to do. Good old Dread. Give me 1 second. Trying to key something else up. Boom, boom. Okay. Times a special attack hit of weak point 2. Items used, a couple, because I was constantly looking back at chat. It's not your fault, chat. It's not your fault, Dread Knights. I do have to hydrate. I am going to be ending well, I'm not technically ending early because I started a little bit early, so I'm going to be ending in about 20 minutes. So that's going to give me like a 10-minute buffer, because I have to do other things besides play Monster Hunter today. I'm not leaning back. I'm drinking green tea so I can stay hydrated. Alright, let's go. Indie VTuber on indie budget. Alright. Okay, cool. You know, like, I will say one thing about this today. I had a good time streaming and just, like, venting, because there's so many things I want to get off my chest. So many things, right? So many different things. I think the one real takeaway is, like, at this point, and it's not, like, channel related, it's just personal, I want to not feel like sometimes, like, I want to feel more positive about something going on than a conflict. It's not a conflict. It's not really a conflict. That's the wrong word to use. I want to feel more positive that something that's going on personally can, like, have a better resolution so that, like, I'm able to communicate better with a friend of mine. I guess I'll use the term friend. And I would, like, hopefully like to see them communicate things a little bit better, too. Like, because I feel like there's a lot of miscommunication going on that's kind of not really, you know? Like, the one thing is sometimes I always go back and review conversations that I've had in my head. That's just kind of me as a human being. So sometimes I'll review conversations that I've had or things I've even say on stream. And I look at them like, maybe I said something that could be taken out of context. And I'm like, well, I didn't mean that actually. What I was really trying to say was this instead. And it's just kind of, somebody threw me out of the session. It's like they checked my name and then they were like, I don't want to be hunting with a VTuber. Oh, well. Guess we'll go on to the next one then. Somebody literally threw me out of that quest. That's so unfortunate. I really think they did because it was like they came into the stream and automatically left, you know? But I'm hoping, like, I'm trying to stay optimistic about some stuff because I don't want to, like, jump to conclusions and feel certain ways and stuff, but yeah, it's difficult. I'm in one of these situations right now that's too complicated. I wish I could talk about it more in detail, and I can't. I'm always kind of being a little bit curt about things. But it always kind of sucks when you have this sentiment of, like, no matter what you do, it's not good enough, and trying to live up to expectations that you want to live up to, but then you feel like you're not living up to them. And it makes you melancholic, I guess, inside, is the best way to put it. But I do feel like talking about this stuff and venting on stream kind of helped a little bit with that, because, like, I was talking to a friend earlier today. I was telling him about, like, future plans of mine and stuff that I was working on, and then they were asking me about, like, how I was feeling personally. And, you know, I'm feeling good. I'm in a good mind space for streaming still and making content. I mean, I'm probably gonna have to explore some other avenues outside of YouTube at this point, because it looks like YouTube is starting to do weird things, and I knew that, like, when YouTube started moving into that AI trend, this was potentially going to be something that would, like, impact channels and stuff. So there's probably a chance that you're gonna see me a lot more on Twitch in the future, which is gonna be, like, an interesting experience for, like, Twitch streaming. I was thinking I'm maybe doing a Twitch stream maybe this week even, as early. Like, maybe moving one of my streams that's scheduled to Twitch. Because I'm not saying that I'm unhappy with YouTube, but I am unhappy with YouTube in a way. Because I feel like the way YouTube's been handling my content and what's, like, been putting my content out to with people's not the right group of people that's putting it out to. I still want to be able to play game. Like, I know Wilds is still popular because I've seen people hunting still in Wilds in our streams, so it's like, I know it's not that. But it's like, YouTube's not really pushing the content out to the people I need it to push out to. So at this point, it just becomes like an uphill battle. You know? And it's fine. That's, you know, I understand it's content creation, there's ups and lows. Another thing that kind of is like school's still in session, and ironically, I think a lot of people that are somewhat of my viewer base are like currently in college and stuff, and it's like midterms and stuff, so that will also affect some stuff too. You know, it'd be like that sometime. You know, in terms of streaming though, I still have fun doing this. In terms of like gaming, I always enjoy gaming. There's not gonna be a situation where I don't game. You know, I'm gonna be gaming until I'm like 80. Maybe I'm gonna be gaming until the day I die. I enjoy video games. That's like me. Take me at face value if you want for that. You know. You know, I'm obviously passionate about other things too. Like, that's another thing that kind of, I don't know. That's something that kind of barred me. Because I felt like somebody was basically telling me that I'm not passionate about stuff. Which is, like, far from the case. You know, how much stuff I've done. In terms of, like, you know, in the background, I've been fighting against, like, AI usage. In video game industry, in the background, I've been fighting for human rights, you know, in terms of like people and stuff that's going on concurrently on my country. In the background, I've been, you know, like where I live and stuff, like there's so much stuff that's going on. I've been fighting for people to be treated equally and fairly and all these other things, you know. So for somebody to tell me that well, not, they didn't tell me, but for me to perceive that somebody might have been expressing that I'm not passionate about things kind of hurts a bit, because it's like, but you don't know other things going on, right? You know, that's fine, because it goes back to like what I was saying, some people see one side of a person, and I think that that's the only thing that really truly defines them, and you know, that's within their right. Red Knights, I'm not saying that to be mean, keep that in mind, I'm just saying that's my way of like trying to respond to something and giving a little bit of a polite rebuttal in hopes that maybe I can open a dialogue regarding that. You know? It's, man. Sometimes it's tough being, like, Red. You know, it's like even IRL me, you know. I have such a strong connection to esports and video games industry and other things. And then it's like always people from that side of things are like, man, but why do you do VTubing? Because people that know the boss, which is basically how I refer to my IRL self, for those of you know. Those of you who don't know, then whenever you see like social media, I'm referring to myself IRL. People know that when it comes to the boss, like, other people, game industry, will be like, well, why do you VTube and stuff? Because, you know, you're just kind of hurting yourself from VTubing. Because, you know, it's like, you could just do face cams and stuff. You could just do this and stuff if you wanted to. I like VTubing because I like to not have to, like, get ready all the time. You know, I know it sounds silly, but, like, right now, I'm so vibing right now. You can't even tell, but I am literally streaming. I kid you not. I'm literally streaming in my boxers. Kid you not. I have my boxers on and a t-shirt, and that's how I'm streaming right now. And I can get away with that because I'm a VTuber, right? And I'm a VTuber model. I'm the comfiest that I could possibly be right now playing this game. And I like that, because it gives me a level of comfort, too. On top of that, people who don't know me personally know that I'm not an ugly guy. I don't think I've ever actually shown a picture of myself on my actual VTuber stuff. But I'm not an ugly guy. I'm actually very handsome and have blue eyes. White, too, and, you know, not that that has anything to do with it, but, you know, like, I'm a white, blue eyes dude. Literally. You know, that's an average build. So, I'm not ugly. Like, there's always that stereotype male VTubers are ugly, and that's why I hide it. I'm not ugly. I'm just, self-conscious about the way I look, even though I have friends that always tell me I'm so handsome and everything in the sort. And that's not a flex. That's something to be arrogant. Keep that in mind. But I prefer comfort. I also like a bit of secrecy to myself. Like, it's just like my comfort zone level, too, because I keep to myself, in a way. Not always. I obviously have friends, but, you know, I like to be a little bit more reserved. You know, I go out for certain things. Obviously, I'm not a hikikomori, contrary to popular belief. Power glitch, but it wasn't me in Power Clash. So when it comes to other things of that nature, you know, it's like, I kind of like the just chilling vibe and stuff. My circle of friends, I have friends, I have a lot more associates and business partners than I do friends, but it's a very, very small circle of friends, because I like to keep it kind of small, because it's more, like, intimate to me that way, and because it's just, like, you know, I've mentioned, even in VTubing space, the thing about, like, you know, the person 4 years back, and that's why it's very hard for me to trust. You know, but it is what it is, man. You know? But, like, even people IRL are like, well, why are you VTube? And then when I tell them about stuff that happens to me, and not in great detail, keep them... It's stuff they're like, why are you still doing this, man? Because I have fun from the medium. I just don't like all the other stuff that gets attached to it sometimes. Somebody died? No, okay, so somebody for support. The Iron Guard Shell Prevail. I think this is going to be last night, because I feel like I've Monster Huntered out right now. Had fun, though. It was a fun session again today. I have, like, a good amount of things I can do today for YouTube Shorts. I'd like to... Offensive Guard is so good in this build. Block. Let's wait. Yeah. I'll wait on that because I can get like a whole bunch of attacks off there. Block. Nice. Excuse me. Block. Okay. Block. Hit. Nice, 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 nice. Block. Okay, good. Let's move here. Block. Okay. Good. So, you know, thank you to everybody that came. Even if you're a WOD watcher, I'm sorry that I just talked so much about so many different things. I needed to get it off my chest because it was just feeling a certain way. And I guess what really truly sparked it was the fact that I was just making a post about stream, and then I started doom posting, which I didn't want to do. But then I got like inclined, oh, like I'll go out to coffee, and I was talking with a friend, and you know, they were getting sad about like stuff that I basically just discussed with you, because I don't know what I like to do. I'm a very transparent guy too, you know. And I feel a certain way about things I do say that I feel about a certain way. I just try to be the most polite about things that I can, without trying to hurt anybody's feelings, or as well trying to offend anybody else, you know? It's just kind of how it goes sometimes. I try to be considerate. Like I said, be nice to everybody, even people that aren't necessarily nice to you. I keep saying this, but man, sometimes it can be so difficult, man. Sometimes it can be so difficult, and I understand, because I've seen other people who try to follow suit, and it's so difficult sometimes, because you just don't want to, you know? Like, there's sometimes where it's so hard because of the way, like, individuals act. But, you know, at the end of the day, like, you know, you don't want everybody in the... You know, it's like, when people say an eye for an eye, like, you know, if you do an eye for an eye mentality, the whole world will go blind at that point. So that's why I try to look at it that way too. And you know, at the end of the day, if somebody's mean to me, if somebody's like cruel to me, if somebody, you know, does something, I just laugh. I don't laugh, like I just nod at it. I'm like, well, you know, it's their prerogative, and you know, at the end of the day, you know, only like one individual's opinion. It's not like, you know, and it's not the whole world. And even if it was, like, you know, as long as you're doing you and being happy, does it really matter? That's how I look at it, you know? Because there's just so much, like... The other thing, too, is there's so much going on in the world right now obviously with the stuff that's happening on Iran, the United States. There's so much stuff happening here in the country I live in that's got so much, like, civil unrest and, you know, prejudice and racism, and there's so many other things, too, going on that, like, you know, with the economy and people, you know, trying to do and make a living and stuff that, like, I don't want to take in, like, more negative energy that would just, like, affect my quality of life. So that's how I look at it. So that's why I don't, like, really put too much investment on stuff like that, which is why I've gotten better. Like, I think a couple years back I would just kind of, like, make a YouTube video on stuff and just be like, yeah, this person pissed me off, and, you know, nowadays I'm more chill about it. I'm just like, it's whatever. You know? That doesn't mean that stuff doesn't, like, oh, I got the mount there. I thought I got killed. I got scared there. I got our mount. When have you seen Lance users get this many mounts? It's kind of funny. But yeah, you know, it's one of those things, too. You know, so I get, like, a little bit disheartened by that. But I understand, too, at the same retrospect. Like, I can't... There's gonna be people who just don't like me. Because that's just kind of how life is. So I've come to accept that fact. And, oops, I missed the mount there. And I've come to kind of accept that that's just kind of how the way things go sometimes. You know, I try not to try to please everybody, because if I try to please everybody, again, this is not being mean, it's just me. I'm speaking generally, I'm not speaking specifically about one individual when I say this, you know, but it's one of those things where, like, I understand that I can't. Let's see if I can do something here. Okay, that's good. Teammate saved there. I understand that there's, like, I can't appease everybody, and there's always people who's got, like, one thing that they want you to do versus the thing that you necessarily want to do. You know? It'd be like that. So at this point in, like VTubing and just doing YouTube content and just living life, I just try to vibe with stuff. And if there's something negative comes along, I don't really try to dwell on it too much. But today it was like one of those days where just, you know, I felt like I needed to just talk and discuss so many different things, you know? Like, I think another thing that kind of brought up... Oh, trying to see if I can get that. Offensive guard has gone off so many times with this build. Alright, reposition. Triple hop. Nice. Got him. Thing. You know, so hey, there's that. Good work. Good work indeed. That was a fun one. Good work, good work. Nice to meet you. Yes, nice to meet you. Nice to meet all of you. Nice to meet you. Okay, good. You know, I think that's going to be the last one that I do for today. I'm going to do some plugging. YouTube.com/Dreadscape Gaming. Alright. Thanks for hunting. I should put that as a call out. Alright. Alright, so that's about all the time that I got for today. I feel like both these builds are really, really good. We didn't fight any arch-tempered monsters, which is fine. I mean, we did try to get into one, and then, like, the people, like, were already halfway dead. We got 2 Dark World gems there, though. That's a plus. I'll show off the build before we go. I already showed off the Gunlance one. This is very similar to that one. The fact that it's more about damage and just being able to proc offensive guard as many times as possible, as well as perfect guard. So, you know. So the build is just basically the same. They're literally the same, for the exception there's no artillery in this build, but there's paralyzed attack. For those who were wondering what set I was using, here's the equipment info. It's basically full Arcveld, the Arch-Temper Arcveld armor, which is Arcvol Cannon Greaves, or Arcvol Cannon Y, or Gamma, as I believe it's called. So the skills you use is offensive guard free, paralyze attack free, because I have the paralyze. Gogmazios, artisan weapon. We have guard level free, guard up level free, weakness exploit 5 heroes, heroics level 5, flayer level 5, agitator level free, convert element level free, blight resistance level free, stun resistance level free. Elemental absorption doesn't matter because we're not playing, but it's in the armor, so that's why you're using it. Windproof because it comes on the talisman that we have, which is a guard up free with the windproof free, which kind of helps a little bit. Prefer earplugs, but we haven't run into one of the shock absorber because it's multiplayer, right? With that being said, though, thank you to everybody who hang out today. Thank you to everybody that lurked. VOD watchers, if you watched the end, leave like a Lance or a Gunlance type of icon to let me know that you watched to the very end. Thank you to everybody that was listening to my many different, like, TED Talks that I had today, because I just wanted to kind of, like, vent a little bit, which is why I like to stream too, because video games are, like, my outlet for this type of stuff when I'm feeling a certain way. With that being said, though, I am going to be switching stuff that I'm doing. So, like, tomorrow I had Breath of the Wild. I'm moving Breath of the Wild Thursday, because I really want to play Diablo 3 tomorrow, because I need another comfort game to play. Because if you were here through the stream or popped in and out, you kind of heard feeling about stuff, so I need a comfort game to make me feel really good and vibe and just, like, have fun times again. So I'll be playing Diablo 3 Eternal Collection tomorrow. Wednesday, I will play Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Thursday will be the Breath of the Wild stream instead, where hopefully we'll finish, like, the first dungeon, Divine Beast. That's going to be a very long playthrough. Then on Friday, Dead by Daylight, because I want to play more Dead by Daylight, because Dead by Daylight is my horror comfort game at this point. But with that being said, thank you for hanging out, thank you for chatting, thank you for lurking. I do greatly appreciate it. Most importantly, I appreciate you. I hope you appreciate me. With that being said, till next time, guys.